Becoming a millionaire in 2026 is easy, actually. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Alex Funk, and by age 24, I had invested in 8 doors of real estate. Now, some were good deals, some were okay deals, but it was 8 doors, 5 that we owned, 3 Airbnb arbitrages. And through owning houses, I found out that creating wealth and getting rich are very different things. And I found out that becoming a millionaire is actually, I don't think, the goal for most people. And in this video, I'm going to break down what that means. And I'm also going to take you behind the scenes of our Virginia wedding and get a little different perspective on the American dream. So strap up, subscribe to the channel, like this video. Here we go. So let's dive in. Let's talk about money. First off, life is not fair. Some people stumble into insane wealth just by being in the right place at the right time. There are millionaires out there who did nothing except win the lottery or buy Dogecoin when it was really cheap. Around 20% of Americans are millionaires right now. So what does that mean? And how could that be possible?
Everyone has their own unique path to $1 million, but most people spend their entire life trying to figure it out.
But the good news is there actually are shortcuts, ways to speed up the process so you don't have to grind for decades and decades and get there when you're 65, like most people.
The first step is clarity. Decide if you want to be a millionaire or if you want to be financially free.
Being ultra rich and a millionaire sounds glamorous, but in reality, it's kind of like if you were playing Monopoly and you had all houses and hotels, but no money on the table. Being financially free is different. You don't need to spend your entire life building or manage huge companies or a massive portfolio in order to be it. So step 1, clarity. Step 2, understanding what millionaire means. It's $1 million net worth. Net worth meaning what you own minus what you owe. Assets minus liabilities.
And that is the scoreboard of wealth. Assets are anything that are worth money that aren't actually money, like investments, stocks, houses, even gold bars.
They all count as assets because they hold value. The beautiful thing about assets is that they often appreciate. Example, a Cutco knife set that was $1,200 5 years ago is worth $1,600 today. Real estate in particular can double or triple in value in the time that someone is holding onto it. And the great thing about real estate, it actually kills 2 birds with 1 stone because while it's building net worth, it's also feeding cash flow along the way, helping with the financially free part. And that's why 90% of millionaires are built through real estate. You don't need to buy a house in cash. You can put down 5 to 20%. So my first house, I bought 5% down on $230,000. I put down about 15 grand and I own the house. And that house has gone up $100,000 in value since I bought it 5 years ago. Over time, the property goes up in value while your tenants or roommates pay all the bills. And so when and if you eventually sell, you get all the profit, and all the expenses the entire time weren't even paid by you anyway. They were paid by the renters. Of course, it takes money and knowledge to start, but if you actually study these things through reading books, watching my channel, having conversations about it, if you get in, you'll most likely do just fine. The truth is that lesson applies to anything. Money is the same as fitness. Where skills pay off when you take time to learn them, sure, but only when you get in the arena and start putting the reps in. Getting in the gym is the same as getting in the real estate game. Every deal will make you stronger. Now let's talk about $1 million again, because even if you make $1 million, the government's going to take 50% of it. That means if you want to be a millionaire, you actually have to earn $2 million because you only get to keep half.
It's like a bad divorce. There are really only 3 ways to do that. You can make money by having assets that grow over time. You can get a job and earn steadily and save, or you can rob a bank.
Are you serious?
I'm just kidding. Or you can grow a business that multiplies your efforts.
Jobs are the slow and steady route. You can make 50 to 200K a year before taxes. And you could slowly get your way there. Businesses give you that higher upside and leverage, but they have a brutal fail rate. The thing about jobs, real estate, businesses, all of them, is that you actually need leverage to get ahead. You cannot get ahead by just working harder. You have to work smarter and understand the concept of leverage. Otherwise, no matter what, you're just on the hamster wheel.
Leverage comes in 4 forms: labor, capital, technology, and marketing.
The real money comes when you stop chasing cash and start solving problems. Whether it's helping someone get their grades up, upgrade their knife set, or giving people a place to host their third wedding celebration, it's all providing value.
And the bigger, faster, easier, and more guaranteed the solution is, and the wealthier the customer is, the more you can charge. Because at the end of the day, all wealth is created by providing value.
So if you're thinking, why not just find one very rich client and solve their very niche problem and just get really good at that one thing? Well, you actually can do that. It's called a job. Okay.
A job is just one customer buying all of your hours. Stable, predictable, low risk, but capped because you're only solving one person's problems.
Business is the same game, the same idea, just with the leverage that we talked about. In a job, you are the leverage. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Business can be much faster, like a couple of years, but with that higher ceiling comes a much lower floor and way more risk. Real estate can get you to $1 million in 10, 20 years, a job 50, 60 years. They can all be paths.
So yes, you can become a millionaire in today's America. So if you don't want to rely on the luck of a lottery or a jackpot, it's just a formula.
Figure out your unique problem-solving lane, then keep stacking different skills to solve bigger problems for more people faster at a larger scale for more money. That's the whole game. Now, I do know that I have a biased perspective as a mid-20-year-old guy who grew up in America. So we're going to ask one other person what they think about the American dream and what they've heard themselves. Anna's younger sister. And why I wanted to ask Ellen these questions is because she has a unique perspective, lived in Georgia, the country, for a year, and met a ton of people from kind of all over the world who represent the next generation's views on the American dream. So Ellen, a couple questions for you, and everyone welcome Ellen to the channel. First question, Ellen, is how would you define the American dream?
So for me, I grew up mostly in the US, so I feel like my perspective is very similar to other people who grew up in the US, and that was kind of like what the baby boomers set the scene for us, which was like the white picket fence and like having a nice house with a little balcony and porch and things like that, as well as like you can kind of do whatever you want, you know. It's the same thing with like you'll hear like as a kid like music and it's like, oh, like there's so many great opportunities in America, or you grow up hearing like from these figures in your life that this is like, you know. As well as growing up, my siblings and I, we were constantly being told by our parents, you know, that we had so many more opportunities than they did because we live in the United States, and how growing up in the Soviet Union, it was very difficult for them. You know, it was hard to be something great there, and so they had to leave in order to do something like that. So yeah.
So Anna's parents, Ellen's parents, grew up in Georgia, the country, when it was part of the Soviet Union. So as she said, they just had a very different perspective. Now, Ellen, would you say that based on your experiences so far in your life, is the American dream dead?
So as of late, I feel like with everything going on, there's a lot of crazy stuff happening with housing, you know, like how I mentioned earlier, how we all imagine the white picket fence and a 2-story house and we have that porch, you know. But now I feel like it's very hard for our generation to, for example, buy a house. And like I said earlier, how I was comparing the baby boomers, their minimum wage has been compared to our minimum wage. Like, and if it was to equal like money, currency, if this is making any sense, to our minimum wage now, which is like, I think in Virginia is $12, to match baby boomers, it would have to have been $66. And I think that's just like mind-blowing when I first heard that. So I feel like that does shatter a lot of people's dreams in America. I mean, people my age who are like, dang, like, how am I going to get a house? Especially with like AI now, there's a lot going on where it's going to be a lot harder for our generation to acquire the, you know, American dream. And so kind of has been shattered a bit for us.
Last question. How do people in Georgia, or how do people from around the world that you've met, how do they view the American dream compared to how you view it or how you see it from your perspective?
Yeah, so I have a few different like perspectives from it that I know. Like some people in Georgia, specifically Georgians, they think of America as like this super patriotic, like, oh, you can do whatever you want in America. And like, especially coming from a country that all these opportunities aren't there. And or like a silly example would be like Walmart or Target. That we don't have that in Georgia. So like, if they cannot comprehend that there is a store that has all the things that you could possibly need in it, or like Costco or something. And for them, when they think of America, it's just everything is bigger and better. They can go there and do whatever they want in America. And some people, it's like now when we hear about what's going on in the world, and like they're kind of shying away from America. Before it was like everybody's like, I always wanted to visit America. My friends would tell me, they're like, when I first moved to Georgia, it was like, wow, what is it like in America? People would ask me many times, what is it like living there? What is school like in America? What do the cities look like? Because people think about like New York and like main cities, Chicago. I mean, yeah, there's like photos and they can see what it looks like from that. But the majority of America does not look that way. And so when I tell them a bit about it, they're like, wow, that's like not what I thought at all. And they're like, now they're more fascinated. And then one thing they love to hear about is, and my favorite thing to tell them about, is Walmart, because you can get whatever you want in Walmart. They have everything. Lately, though, with like a lot of political changes and people, there's been a lot of like uprisings in the US, not like crazy revolutions or anything, but people are definitely speaking out against the government. People are, friends of mine at least, are starting to realize that the US isn't some like grand thing compared to wherever they live, like Georgia, for example. That there's also like things going on in our government that shouldn't be going on, and not everybody has the rights that you would think that they would automatically be granted because they live in the US, because it's the land of the free. And so for them, the American dream, it's, no longer such like a far-fetched thing. It's like, oh, like this is going on in America? I would have never thought. So it's definitely changed a lot in the past maybe few months.
Now, I want to wrap up this video with saying this. I think Ellen's experiences and perspective super valuable and super accurate. I think what she's describing as the American dream that's not the same as our parents would want it to be, or like they said it would be, is definitely true. And at the same time, I would say like that's why I think it's so important that you continue to learn. Subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram. I'm trying to show that, yeah, it might be different today in how to buy a house. It might be different today in how to build wealth and get ahead, and things might cost a lot more and it might be different, but it's important to note that it's just different now. And if you're watching this video and if you made it all the way to here, you're in the right spot. Stay educated, but education might look different than society wants you to think. Subscribe to the channel, watch this video next if you want to see how I did it before the age of 25. Watch this video if you want to see another perspective just about money from my channel.